this is an article from the 11th of January 2020 from the University World News. You might have seen it, but it provides a bit of context, big context to what you are going to hear over the next hour and a half from myself, from Jan, from Matt, and Stephen. It's got to do with the fact that international education has to engage with the climate change, sustainable development goals, and cut its carbon footprint. So hold this thought at the back of your mind, please. And I'm going to my PowerPoint presentation. Are we good? Yeah. So Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange. Can I ask you, do you know what Erasmus Plus is? Have you ever heard of Erasmus Plus? Okay. So the Erasmus program is a European Union student exchange program that was established in 1987. So it definitely contributes to the carbon footprint. Erasmus Plus is the new program combining all the EU's current schemes for education, training, youth, and sport. And that started back in 2014. Now, what is virtual exchange? It's important to understand what virtual exchange is and what it is not. Virtual exchange is distinct from regular online educational programs, and it has several defining components. It's people-to-people, real-time synchronous interactions between young people. In the EU, everybody who is between 18 and 30 years old counts as young. And this people-to-people real-time interaction, this online exchange, is at the core of the learning. It's facilitated, so supported by trained facilitators or educators to ensure that these exchanges are meaningful, constructive, and reach the intended learning outcomes. It's sustained over time, so it's more than just a one-off get-together. And most importantly, it's technology-enabled or technology-mediated, so it uses the broad reach of new media technologies to bring young people together across time zones and geographical distance. And both together, Erasmus Plus and Virtual Exchange, if you put them both together, and then you have Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange, an innovative way to engage in intercultural experiences online. I don't know the numbers in the US, but in the European higher education area, 20% of students go abroad, 80% don't. I think the figures are lower here, if I'm not mistaken. It's Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange is about expanding the reach and the scope of the Erasmus Plus program. The goal is to foster mutual understanding and the development of skills such as critical thinking, intercultural communication, empathy, very important within Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange, and media and digital literacy. It's in its pilot phase, 2018 to 2020. This year in the summer, the pilot phase will wrap up. And the aim is to reach 25,000 participants. And this is not only students from higher education institutions, sorry, I'm a bit jet-lagged, but also youth from youth organizations. So that's a real novelty. It reaches beyond the higher education area. And it is implemented by a consortium of organizations. You see them at the bottom of the slide. I am here on behalf of UNI Collaboration. That's the consortium I belong to. Now, what's the background to this initiative? It sits at the interface between educational and political objectives. The educational objectives, as I said, to expand the reach of the traditional Erasmus Plus program, to contribute to internationalization at home, internationalization of the curriculum, and also to digitalization of education. But secondly, and for me personally much more important, there is a very strong political dimension to this initiative. The project aims to support values of freedom, tolerance, and non-discrimination through education. It is particularly about enhancing cooperation and relationships with southern Mediterranean countries. It links higher education institutions from the north of the Mediterranean with the south. The MENA region, we call it, Middle East and North Africa. That's a focus of Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange. And it also wants to mitigate the negative effects caused by the rise of fake news and enhancing critical thinking and media literacy. So a very strong political agenda. Also maybe important to know that it is the counter-radicalization unit within the Commission that is behind this initiative. So through Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange, the students and the youth that participate are supposed to gain a cross-cultural experience. The project promotes value of interpersonal competence, such as tolerance and empathy. I've already mentioned that. For me personally, very important. It's about building relationships across borders. And in that sense, one could probably argue, I was thinking yesterday while I was listening to Sharon Stein, that it makes at least a small contribution to this internationalization that gestures beyond, what she called internationalization that gestures beyond. I have to think a bit more about that one, but I think there is a place for this within that theme. Now, there are four main activities within, four main virtual exchange activities. The first one, and it is the Sharing Perspectives Foundation, one of the consortium partners that is responsible for this activity within Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange, are the interactive open online courses, IUCs, specifically not MOOCs, IUCs, interactive open online courses. They take place in small online groups. Each week, the participants join for an intercultural dialogue session and are given an interactive assignment to complete during the rest of the week. So these IUCs combine intercultural exchange with online learning. Each of these courses, IUCs, is focused on a different topic or socio-political issue. Again, here the political agenda comes to the fore. Topics are migration, refugee issues, identity issues, hate speech, the impact of technology on society, gender equality, etc. At the end, I'll show you the hub, the link to the website where you can look up. And anybody, any young person interested can apply directly via the project hub, not only within Europe, actually. Then we have online debate exchanges. It's the Anna Lindh Foundation, consortium partner Anna Lindh Foundation, which is responsible for that. So step one is that those who want their students and the youth organizations that want their youth to participate, they take part in a team leader training session on parliamentary debate skills. After that, the teams from the north and the south of the Mediterranean engage in an online debate on a topic of their choice. And the session is hosted by a debate trainer, and the debates are moderated by the two team leaders of each team who have taken part in the team leader training in step one. Languages, by the way, of Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange: English, French, and Arabic. All activities. The third is online facilitated dialogue. It's the consortium partner Solia or Solia Connect. You might have heard of them, which is an activity where young people meet face-to-face with peers from different countries and participate in meaningful discussions in the presence of a neutral facilitator, specially trained facilitator. And this is about exposing young people to different perspectives and to help them engage with difference and otherness. You might have seen the Solea platform maybe once. It's like sitting around a campfire. Yeah, it's a circular arrangement where everyone's head is seen in a little circle, and the chat window for typing is in the middle. It's a bespoke platform, and it belongs to Solea Connect. And this is where I'm mostly involved with the training for transnational exchange projects. You know this here in the US as Collaborative Online International Learning, COIL. You've probably heard of COIL. Yeah, Jan is going to talk more about this, and Matthew and Stephen are going to talk about COIL. But within the Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange, this activity is labeled Transnational Exchange Project. Yeah? And we offer professional development for individuals, so faculty and youth workers, who have an idea for a virtual exchange project and are interested in designing and implementing it together with a partner organization, either higher education institution or youth organization. So we train the people, we also help them to find partners, and we mentor them during the implementation of the exchange. Okay, so research. Of course, we get a lot of money. It's a multi-million euro project from the EU. And we have to evaluate what we are doing, and we want, obviously, to show positive impact. So 4 different models of virtual exchange: the IUCs, the online debates, the facilitated dialogue sessions, and the transnational Erasmus Plus virtual exchange projects. And part of the specifications in the tender was that we had to use the same research tool to evaluate all 4 activities. That already is a bit mad if you come to think of it, because they're distinctly different activities. But that was part of the specification. So we then sat down and said, how are we going to do this? Obviously, good old mixed methods approach in research is helpful. So we've been collecting quantitative data, and we've been collecting qualitative data. And the quantitative data are pre- and post-exchange items in a survey to measure the impact. We also carry out post-exchange self-evaluation. That is not, we don't carry it out, but we give those who do it, the participants in the activities, the tools to do it. And we, for the facilitated dialogue sessions, we have mini web surveys after each synchronous session, yeah, to capture the mood immediately after the event. Now, in terms of the items, you might want to know what are they about in the pre and the post-exchange survey. There are items that relate to self-esteem, to curiosity, to confidence and effectiveness in intercultural communication. Obviously, it's all perceived because it's self-reported. It's items that relate to hope with regard to intergroup relations. This is this relationship building across time zones and geographical borders. There are also items concerned with feelings of warmth towards groups which are ethnically and religiously different. And there is also an item where we ask the participants whether they have actually experienced studying or living abroad. And this is a pre-exchange item only, and in the post-exchange survey only item where we ask them to self-report on the development of these key skills and attitudes that I've mentioned earlier, to reflect on global awareness, citizenship, understanding of others, engagement, and satisfaction with the experience as a whole. If you are interested in the nitty-gritty of all of this, you can come and talk to me afterwards. I have the questions here. Obviously, it's part of the project. I cannot just give them out, but I can talk to you about them. But what I can give you is we also now, within the transnational projects, virtual exchange the TAPs, as we call them, the COIL type of activity within Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange, we also now use a student portfolio. I am part of the small team of 3 people that has developed this portfolio. It comes with the Creative Commons license, so that means you can also use it, and I have a few paper copies here for those who are interested. It draws mainly on the Council of Europe's recent document called Competences for Democratic Culture, and it also draws on the work of Jean-Michel Morris and Ron Darwin in terms of critical digital literacy and design. So this is a takeaway for you if you are interested. Now, this is from the 2018 report. We are just about to wrap up the 2019 report. It will also be available in a couple of weeks. So in the first year, we reached 8,222 people. 7,400 young people participated, and nearly 800 people were trained, including, when we say trained, we trained educators, youth workers, team leaders for the debates, and facilitators for the facilitated dialogue sessions at Solia. In addition, 117 partnerships were created. This is now TAP, COIL, partnerships across 42 countries with institutions and organizations that have integrated virtual exchange in their courses and regular projects. This is the youth organizations when I say projects. The ratio male-female shows a slight majority of women. That, I guess, is a classic in our business, but that correlates with the ratio of women participating in the traditional Erasmus Plus program and other higher education programs in Europe. Around 36% of participants come from non-higher education institutions, so these are the youth organizations, and our efforts are set to increase this number, and we have managed this to do this in 2019. Specifically, Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange is trying to reach the so-called hard-to-reach youth, meaning those who have less opportunities, come from remote areas within the zone, the north of the Mediterranean and south of the Mediterranean area, or from refugee or migrant backgrounds. And here we have the 2 consortium members, Migration Matters and Chiron, you might have heard of them, who are particularly active. Finally, you can see that the proportion of participants coming from European and Southern Mediterranean, also north and south, is even, which is good news because that's part of what we were asked to do with Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange. Here are some more figures. They speak for themselves, so I'll shut up for a moment. And then you can see from the surveys that I mentioned earlier and the items I referred to, a few figures with regard to curiosity and cross-cultural communication. This is data that comes from a Likert scale type of approach. And you see the before and the after, the lighter color before and the darker color for the after. Now, to come back to the mixed method approach, where do we see the added benefits of using qualitative data and not just quantitative data? It helps us with support, with interpreting the statistics. You probably know that from your own research. And there are new themes that emerge from the data. We transcribe a lot and use qualitative data analysis software like NVivo to do the coding. And we use a grounded theory approach, so we let the themes and the codes come out of the data. And a very important theme that has emerged is the learning to listen. Yeah, the value that the participants see in listening, and the way they have learned to listen to others across all activities. It also obviously allows us to explore differences between the 4 models of VE that make up Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange. And I also think it humanizes virtual exchange because it allows us to tell individual impact stories of participants. Of course, there are also limitations and challenges when you do that kind of evaluation. We have that was back in 2018. It looks a bit better now, but back in 2018, we had a 25% completion rate of the surveys. The fact that we are comparing apples and pears with these 4 different models, that we rely largely on self-reported improvement in evaluation, and it is also has proven difficult to find volunteers, interviewees across all 4 models, all 4 activities and regions. We have to go through institutional gatekeepers if we want to do interviews. They mainly take part online, but still you need permissions. It's very time consuming to gather and transcribe the data for more in-depth analysis. And interview data is often not as rich, we have found, as reflective journals or interactional data. Because sometimes people also think they know what you want to hear, you know? So, I mean, you know. But if you are interested in the impact report, this is where you find it. But I say the 2019 impact report is out any moment. And you can go to the European Youth Portal, EU Youth Portal. This is where the hub is for Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange. You go to the EU Youth Portal, and then you see on the right-hand side what you see here, and you click on it, and from there you can branch out to the 4 different activities I have described. And that's it from me. Pop back to the QR code. Yeah.
Okay, it looks like we have about 7 minutes for questions. If there's anyone that would like to take the microphone. We are using the microphone for the Q&A for the live stream participants and audience.
I know it's a lot to digest. It's probably a bit of cognitive overload, no? But I'm around. We can also talk afterwards. Yeah. Oh, there is a question. Yes.
Hi there. My first question is super, super quick. It was the European Council's framework for democratic competence. Is that what you said?
Yeah, if it's here. If you want the e-portfolio, it's here.
Great.
The
Thank
link
you.
is in here. Okay, but it's the it's competences for democratic culture.
Thank you. And then quickly, have you ever compared the results of the virtual exchange to an in-person mobility scheme?
No, because that's not our remit. We want to complement. Erasmus Plus Virtual Exchange has been designed to complement, to cater for these 80% in the European higher education area who don't go anywhere.
Right.
Okay? And also keep in mind the first slide, carbon footprint, traveling.
Yes. Thank you.
Coming.
My question is regards the debates. So in forensic debate, in high school, what have you, the participants often have to take a position which is not their own, and they are, doing argumentation. But I noticed that there is a geographic divide. Do you have any observations about how dividing the teams geographically played out, or was there ever discussion of having multinational teams?
There has. I mean, they do sometimes debate in tridems as well, as far as I know. It's not my area of expertise, but they choose the topic, okay? So I hope at least that helps to be democratic, because I think that's what you're hinting at, no? Is it really a democratic process, or... I personally, if I may say so, have huge problems with debate as a form of engaging with each other. I think it's a bit too confrontational, and in a way goes counter what we want to achieve. But those, particularly the youth organizations actually, are very keen on the debating format. So I can't really answer your question, to be honest, but read the report. It's in there. Yeah.
In one of the slides, you wrote that you have trained facilitators in the virtual discussions.
Yeah.
Who are those?
Yeah. Moment,
it was
where
before
are
that.
we? I know. For this here,
That one. Yeah. Train
Solia. If you go onto the Solia Connect site, you reach it via the hub, but you can also go to Solia directly. These are specially trained facilitators for conflict transformation. Okay? So again, the political dimension of the project. You stay with the trouble. We heard in the previous keynote. You raise issues and you stay with the trouble. And you help these young people to engage.
So not just teachers.
Oh, no, they're specially trained facilitators. And you can send your students there, or you can train yourself if you want to, in the context of your continuous professional development, obviously.
And are you looking at other languages besides English, Arabic, and French?
Not at the moment. That was what we were tasked with during the pilot phase. Obviously, we want to do other languages, and we also want to do a little bit more translanguaging within the activities. Yeah.
Actually, if I could tag on a question to that, the data you collected, was that all in one language or in the person's L1 or?
Mix, a big mix. And this is also why it's so time consuming, because then you don't only have to transcribe, you also have to translate. Because good old hegemony of English, ultimately the analysis is done on the basis of English data. Yeah, but you look, I wanted to say something actually in the previous keynote. There are many more speakers of English as an additional language in this world than there are native speakers of English, okay? So let's not forget it. We are all in exquisite company.
Yeah, we have time for about one more question, if anyone has one.
So you have it's the IOOC, not the MOOCs, which I really like. I mean, there's research, I think, that maybe a lot of people have read just recently that came out of Harvard and MIT showing that massive open online courses are very low when it comes to engagement. Less than 3% of people are passing them and are going through the whole way. So with this interactive open online course, what is the component that makes it better than kind of a massive open online course?
Well, the synchronous sessions that they have once a week.
Okay. And that kind of engagement on top of the curriculum, so they're not just accessing it alone. They feel like they're a part of a group that's working together.
Yeah. I mean, I also have to say something about MOOCs. To me, they are the most misunderstood educational phenomenon of the 21st century so far. I happen to know Dave Cormier, who coined the word MOOC, and he says his biggest regret in life is that he ever called it a course. A massive open online course.
Wow.
Because it was supposed to be for small groups of people who have a bespoke interest in a certain topic that find each other online and share and create knowledge. So the community is the curriculum kind of approach. And then the investors, the people with the dollar signs in their eyes came and took it all away.
Perfect. Thank
in
you.
the wrong direction, obviously.
All right, let's thank our
It's all
presenter.
streamed. Ooh.